Hey, welcome back to We Be Kids again. My name's Danny. I'm one of the founders at We Be Kids. I'm an outdoor educator and a storyteller. And I'm really excited to come up into the woods today to tell you a story. Now, this story I heard being told by another storyteller called Diane Edgecombe on a podcast that is called The Art of Storytelling. It's a lovely story, and I really wanted to share it here on We Be Kids for you all to hear. Now, the story is an old folk tale from Czechoslovakia, and in the story there is a song which is sang in Czechoslovakian, but I don't know how to speak that language, so I've decided that I'm going to substitute the song with another song that I know, which I think fits this story really well. It's a simple song, and we'll sing it throughout, so if at any point you want to join in, please do. So like I said, this story is a folk tale from Czechoslovakia. It happened a long time ago. And it happened at a farmhouse. Now, this farmhouse is probably not like the one that just jumped to mind. This farmhouse was quite small. It was very ramshackled and falling down. There were holes in the roof, the windows were broken, and the door was hanging off the hinges. And in the farmhouse lived a little girl and her mother. And they worked very hard to try and make a living. You see, the soil around the farmhouse was very poor. They just had one field that could produce crops. And in that field, they grew flax. And they grew flax so they could make thread. And with the thread, they would make cloth that they could sell at the market. They also had a small herd of goats, but the grass was so poor by the farmhouse that each day the daughter, the young girl, would take the goats and walk them over the hills to find fresh grass. Now, on this day, the girl woke up early. The sun was shining. There was a light breeze blowing over the hilltops. The girl got all of the goats together, and before she left, her mother came running out. She said, "Darling, do remember that we don't have much at all. Do as much work as you can today, and here, take all of this thread and please weave it into cloth so I can sell it at the market later this week. Maybe then we'll be able to buy something to eat." So the girl took the thread and she put it over her head, over her neck. She began to walk. But the thread was very heavy. And under the weight of it, she couldn't walk very fast. So it took her until about lunchtime before she arrived at a patch of grass that looked green and lush. There she let the goats off, and the goats went off and began to eat the grass. And just nearby there was a small grove of birch trees with their long, white, slender trunks. She took the thread and she headed over. She thought she would sit amongst the birch trees in the shade. She attached the thread to her loom and she began to weave. And as she began to weave, she began to sing. She sang a beautiful and simple song. Trees grow tall in the heart of the forest, high in the sky, and the roots go down in the deep dark earth. And as she sang, she felt a presence behind her. The leaves began to blow on the trees. She turned around, and there behind her was a lady, a very tall lady, wearing a pure white dress that went all the way down to the ground. She had soft features, pale skin, but she had very long, jet black hair. And as the girl sang, the lady began to dance. And the lady danced in and amongst the birch trees. And the girl was mesmerised by this beautiful dancing. As the lady danced, her hair wrapped wrapped around each of the trees, leaving black marks on the long white trunks. And then the lady came over to the young girl. She said, "Won't you come and dance with me?" And the girl said, "I can't dance. I am too busy. Look at all of this thread. I have to weave it into cloth. You see, we are very, very poor. Only when I've made cloth can we sell it at the market and get some food. I haven't got time to dance." But the Birch Tree Lady said, "Of course you have time to dance. Don't worry about the thread. I can do that. We can do it together later. Come and dance with me." And with that, she took her by the hand and they began to dance together, in and out of the birch trees, round and round and round, the wind whipping at their feet. And as they danced, not a single blade of grass was laid flat on the ground. Oh, and how they danced, with such happiness and such joy. They danced all the way through the afternoon. It was only when the sun began to fall out of the sky that the young girl stopped. She said, "Oh, it is going dark. We haven't made any cloth at all. Oh, I'm going to be in so much trouble." And the Birch Tree Lady said, "Excuse me, do not worry. Come back tomorrow. I can make that cloth in no time. Come and dance with me." And the girl said, "Okay, I'll come back tomorrow." And she quickly picked up the thread and put it around her neck. She gathered all of the goats together and they walked back over the hills. When they got back, it was just about going dark. So the girl took off the thread and she hid it behind a bush outside the farmhouse. And she went in and her supper was waiting for her. A piece of dry bread and a single pea. And she ate it and she went to sleep. And the next morning she woke early. She was excited to go back to the Birch Tree Grove. So she started to get the goats together and she headed out. But as she headed out, her mother was there with another big bundle of thread. She said, "Dear, be sure to take this and weave it into cloth that we can sell at the market." And the girl said, "Yes, mother." And she waited until her mother went back in and she put it over her neck. And then she walked to the holly bush and she got the second bundle. And now it was so heavy that her knees were shaking. But onward she went with the goats. It was after lunchtime when she arrived by the Birch Tree Grove. And again, she let the goats off and they went to nibble on the lush green grass. She went in amongst the birch trees. She tied the thread to her loom and she began to weave. And then she began to sing. "Trees grow tall in the heart of the forest, high in the sky, and the roots go down in the deep dark earth." And as she sang, she felt the Birch Tree Lady behind her again. She turned and there she was, looking as beautiful as ever in a long white dress. She said, "Won't you come and dance with me?" The girl said, "I can't dance. Look, I've now got twice as much thread. We must make cloth." The Birch Tree Lady said, "Do not worry, we'll do that later. Come and dance." And the girl, remembering how much fun she'd had the day before, she took the Birch Tree Lady's hand. Together they danced, in and out of the trees, her black hair wrapping around the tall white trunks. The wind picked up, the grass blew beneath their feet. It was the most beautiful afternoon. They danced with such joy that they forgot about the time. And as the sun began to fall out of the sky, the girl said, "No, we haven't made any cloth. I must go. I'm going to get in so much trouble." The Birch Tree Lady said, "Do not worry. Come back tomorrow. I will help you." So the girl picked up both bundles of thread and she put them over her shoulders and she headed back home with the goats. And this time when she got back, her mother was waiting for her. She saw the thread around her neck. She said, "My dear, why have you still got all of this thread? I asked you to weave it into cloth so we could sell it at the market and get some food to eat." And the girl said, "Mother, I haven't made any cloth. You see, I've been busy dancing in and out of the birch tree. It's been beautiful. I've had so much fun." And her mother shook her head. She said, "Dear, you must understand. There is no time for dancing. We are poor. We must work." She sent her inside. And on this evening, she had a slice of stale bread for her dinner. And she went to sleep. And when she woke up, her mother was waiting for her with a third bundle of thread. She said, "Darling, please remember that we must make this thread into cloth." And she put it around her neck. 1, 2, 3 bundles. Now the girl could barely walk. Her head was bowed low, and slowly she went across the hills with the goats behind her. As the afternoon began, she entered the Birch Tree Grove. She let the goats go free. She attached the thread to the loom. She began to sing. Trees grow tall, but in a moment the Birch Tree Lady arrived. She said, "Oh, I am so pleased to see you. Won't you come and dance with me?" And the girl said, "I can't dance. Can't you see I am poor? There is no time for dancing. I must work." The Birch Tree Lady shook her head. She said, "No, we must dance. Let me help you with that." And she reached down and she took the thread and she tied the thread to one of the branches on one of the birch trees. And she held the thread in one hand and she took the girl's hand in the other. She said, "Come and dance with me." And again they danced, but this time they danced like never before. In and out of the birch trees they went, the wind seeming to lift them off the ground as they paraded around each of the birch with their tall white trunks. The girl had such a wonderful time. Her heart was filled with joy. And as the sun began to fall out of the sky, she looked around her, and at their feet was the most beautiful cloth anybody had ever seen. She bundled it all up and she put it across her shoulders. And she turned to the Birch Tree Lady and she said, "Thank you so, so much. I am so grateful for all of your help." The Birch Tree Lady looked shocked. She said, "No, it is I that is grateful for you. You have come for these last 3 days and you have danced with me amongst the birch trees. Oh, I am so grateful. In fact, I am so grateful I have a gift for you." And she disappeared behind the trees. And she wasn't gone long, but when she came back, she was holding a basket with a lid. She said, "Here, this is a gift for you, but you must promise me that you don't open it until you get home." And the girl said, "I promise you." And she gave the Birch Tree Lady a great big hug. And she got the goats together and she headed off back home. But as she walked, she was filled with excitement and wonder. What could be in the basket? She remembered that the Birch Tree Lady said, "Do not open it until you get home." But she couldn't wait. So she stopped. She sat down on the ground and she opened the lid. And as she opened the lid, She was filled with disappointment. You see, all there was in the basket was dried old birch leaves. For a moment she thought about just tipping them out, but then she thought maybe they would make good bedding for her goats. But she was grateful for the gift anyway. So she stood up and onward she went, heading home. And when she got home, the sun had gone and it was dark, and her mother was waiting for her. Her mother ran out to meet her, and around her neck she saw the cloth. She took off the cloth. She said, "My dear, look at this cloth. It is so beautiful. I have never seen cloth like this. Did you make it?" And the girl said, "Yes, I did, but I had some help." Her mother said, Who? Who helped you with this?" The girl said, "Oh, I had some help from the Birch Tree Lady. You see, I met her in the Birch Grove." The mother said, "You met the Birch Tree Lady?" She said, "Yes." Her mother said, "Well, I hope you were kind to her." She nodded her head. She said, "Indeed, I was kind to her. She likes me very, very much. I was so kind to her that she even gave me a gift." Their mother said, "What gift?" The girl held up the basket. She said, "Oh, it's only a basket of old dried birch leaves." And she handed the basket to her mother. And her mother took the basket. And she opened the lid. And as she opened the lid, a golden glow illuminated her face. She was shocked. She reached her hand in, and she pulled out hundreds and hundreds of birch leaves of solid, pure gold. And the mother and the daughter never wanted for anything ever again. And that is the story of the Birch Tree Lady. So I hope you enjoyed it. It's a bit of a longer story than what I usually tell, but definitely worth the extra time. It's a beautiful, beautiful tale, and I hope you can share that with the people that you know. Also, next time you're out and about, look out for those birch trees and be reminded that those black marks that are around the trunk are those from the lady as she danced in and out the beautiful trees. So thanks for watching. We'll see you again sometime soon. Bye.